Volcano eruption in Alaska may disrupt air travel this week. The Cleveland volcano started pumping out ash and steam on Saturday.
Elon Musk is known for always pushing boundaries in technology and space, but this time is not about a new Tesla model or another rocket launch. His focus this time shifted to an unexpected location, which is Alaska's airport. What happened in Alaska airport has left everyone shocked. Some say it could forever change how we view the intersection of technology, wildlife, and safety. What exactly is going on in Alaska's airport? What are the implications of all these? Join us in this video as we uncover everything happening in Alaska's airport. The posing threat at Alaska's airport. Imagine an airport surrounded by snow, runways covered with ice, and no clear visibility. This is a common scene at Alaska's airports, where harsh winter conditions are a norm. Many challenges keep rising in Alaska's aviation sector. Recently, Alaska Airlines' emergency brake seemed to have a mind of its own when it slammed to a stop. Fortunately, it avoided what could have been a devastating crash. It was a split-second decision made under serious pressure, and thanks to swift action, the lives of 176 passengers were spared from what could have been a catastrophic accident. The scene unfolded in front of many shocked lookers. Video footage showed the Alaska Airlines plane grounded, tires blown out, and emergency crews rushing onto the tarmac. There are a whole lot of things happening in Alaska, especially its airport. What is going on in Alaska's airport? Keep watching to find out more. This is one of many incidents occurring in Alaska's airport. Once the United States had to temporarily shut down operations at Alaska's Ted Stevens International Airport. Congestion, weather events, and miscommunications between aircraft all combined to create a perfect storm's serious risk. One particularly terrifying incident was during Tropical Storm Hilary that sent fear down the spines of passengers aboard a Boeing 737-800. They were traveling from Seattle to Santa Ana. While mid-flight, they encountered an alarming atmospheric disturbance that shook the plane. Everyone inside the plane was so scared it was just a flight and not a life-risking decision. There are a whole lot of things happening in this massive state, twice bigger than Texas. Let's dive into what is going on in Alaska and the measure they are putting in place to end all these, because it's getting crazy. For many who don't know, Alaska is the largest state in the United States. Yes, it is a very beautiful place with rugged wilderness and raw beauty. It has mountains, glacial rivers, and expansive forests. Alaska is not just a place, it's an experience. Alaska is also home to a variety of towns and cities. Its beauty is overwhelming, attracting tourists and adventurers all over the country. One of Alaska's most defining features is its wildlife. Home to an impressive variety of species, the state is a haven for nature lovers and animal enthusiasts. The dense forests and tundras are home to majestic creatures like grizzly bears, wolves, and moose. But that's where one of the problems starts from. Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport is one of Alaska's most important transportation hubs, but it faces unique challenges unlike any other major airport in the world. Ted Stevens Anchorage Airport is open to nature. Wildlife, especially large animals like moose and bears, regularly wander and in most cases enter the airport grounds, posing both safety and logistical problems for airport workers and travelers. Imagine going to an airport, but you're scared to enter freely because of wild animals. Moose, in particular, are frequent visitors. Because these large, ungainly creatures seem to be always attracted to the open spaces surrounding the runways, especially during the winter months when they forage for food. Moose are dangerous not just because of their size — adult males can weigh over 1,500 pounds, but also because they tend to be unpredictable in nature. An encounter between an aircraft and a moose on the runway could result in catastrophic consequences for both the animal and the people on board the plane. Bears, too, are not uncommon around Ted Stevens Airport, particularly in the warmer months when food sources are more abundant. The scent of food waste from the airport's restaurants and garbage areas attract these apex predators, who are always in search of an easy meal. Bears are fast, strong, and highly dangerous, and their presence around the airport definitely lead to flight delays and safety scares as wildlife officials work to safely relocate them away from the area. Smaller wildlife also plays a role in the airport's daily operations. Birds, while less immediately threatening than large mammals, pose a significant hazard to airplanes. Collisions between aircraft and birds can cause severe damage to engines and, in extreme cases, lead to accidents. Given Alaska's rich bird life, including species like eagles, gulls, and ducks, the risk of bird strikes is higher than in many other parts of the country. But that's just the beginning of one of the problems TED Airport faces. The encroachment of wildlife causes such danger. Then how about Alaska weather conditions? The winters in Anchorage are long, dark, and brutal, with temperatures that regularly dip far below freezing. At Ted Stevens International Airport, the relentless cold impacts every facet of operations, from runway maintenance to flight schedules and even passenger safety. The freezing temperatures alone create a lot of difficulties. The airport operates in one of the coldest regions of the world, and winter can last for several months, with temperatures dropping to dangerously low levels. Snowstorms, freezing rain, and strong winds are common occurrences that severely disrupt air traffic operations. Snow, freezing rain falls during the winter months, creating dangerous icy conditions on the runways, taxiways, and parking areas. Ice poses a serious risk to aircraft, making it difficult for planes to take off and land safely. Even us humans encounter difficulties when it snows. In this case, even a thin layer of ice can cause planes to skid off the runway or prevent them from gaining the necessary traction during takeoff. The cold temperatures in Alaska can drop to sub-0 degrees Fahrenheit, leading to another set of challenges in freezing equipment, frost buildup, and difficulties in maintaining the functionality of airport systems. Aircraft themselves can freeze while waiting on the tarmac, and frost buildup on the wings can significantly impair an airplane's ability to take off. The high winds that come with Alaskan winters also pose a threat. Strong gusts can make it difficult for planes to take off and land, leading to delays and cancellations. In serious cases, these winds can make it impossible for planes to remain stable during approach or departure, forcing flights to be diverted or postponed until conditions improve. Visibility is another major problem in Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, especially during the long, dark winter months. Heavy snowfall, fog, and low-hanging clouds can reduce visibility to near zero, like you won't be able to see anything, and that's bad for an airport. It makes it incredibly difficult for pilots to see the runway, other aircraft, or even the air traffic control tower. Alaska experiences long periods of darkness during the winter. With some days, they will have a few hours of dim light. This extended darkness, combined with snow and fog, creates a nearly constant battle against poor visibility. Pilots have to rely heavily on instrumentation and guidance from air traffic control to navigate these treacherous conditions. Even with modern navigation equipment, the risk of accidents increases substantially when visibility is compromised. Frost and ice buildup on both the runway and aircraft are persistent and dangerous problems. Even on clear, cold days, frost forms on aircraft parked on the tarmac, affecting the plane's aerodynamics and increasing the risk of accidents during takeoff. Frost buildup on the wings, in particular, can disrupt the smooth flow of air over the surface of the wings, significantly impairing a plane's lift and making it difficult, if not impossible, to take off safely. On the ground, ice poses a similarly hazardous problem. Ice forms on runways and taxiways, making it difficult for planes to stop after landing and increasing the likelihood of skidding off the runway. Vehicles used for ground operations, such as baggage carts and fuel trucks, also face the risk of sliding on icy surfaces, potentially leading to accidents. As one of the busiest cargo airports in the world, Ted Stevens also suffers with runway congestion. While the airport was initially designed to handle a moderate amount of air traffic, the volume of both passenger and cargo flights has increased substantially in recent years. The airport's strategic location makes it a critical link in the global cargo supply chain, and this has led to a surge in the number of planes arriving and departing each day. This increase in air traffic has resulted in more congestion on the runways and taxiways. With more planes attempting to take off and land at the same time, the risk of runway incursions has also grown. Runway incursions are incredibly dangerous and lead to near-miss incidents or, in the worst cases, collisions. Miscommunication between air traffic controllers, pilots, and ground crews can cause these incursions, and the growing pressure to keep flights on schedule only exacerbates the problem. Freezing equipment, ground vehicles such as fuel trucks, baggage carts, and plows are constantly exposed to freezing temperatures. From there, mechanical failures become more frequent as the cold temperatures take their toll. Hydraulic systems can freeze, engines can seize up, and electronic equipment can malfunction in the cold, delaying critical ground operations. The airport's weather monitoring systems, though advanced, are pushed to their limits by Alaska's rapidly changing and extreme weather conditions. Predicting weather patterns in such an environment is incredibly difficult, and while modern systems offer some level of accuracy, the volatile weather can still surprise operators and lead to sudden, unexpected conditions that throw operations into disarray. Communication systems can be affected by the weather. Icy conditions interfere with radio communications between pilots and air traffic controllers. While the cold can cause mechanical failures in essential equipment like radar and navigation aids. These technological limitations can further complicate an already difficult operational environment. The cold temperatures and severe weather conditions in Alaska also place additional strain on the aircraft themselves. Planes are built to withstand a wide range of environmental conditions, but the extreme cold, ice, and wind in Alaska accelerate wear and tear on aircraft. Metal components can become brittle in freezing temperatures, and repeated exposure to these conditions can lead to faster fatigue and structural damage. Aircraft engines, which are designed to operate under a variety of conditions, also face strain in the Alaskan climate. The cold air affects the way engines perform, and in some cases it can lead to engine failures or reduced performance. This is particularly true during the winter months when the engines have to work harder to compensate for the cold air. The combination of harsh weather, freezing temperatures, and the need for constant maintenance makes aircraft operations at Ted Stevens especially challenging. That's not even all. How can we forget to mention Lakehood? This is another place that is very dangerous and poses a great threat. In the winter, Lakehood itself freezes over, and seaplanes switch to skis to takeoffs and land on the ice. This shift in operations brings another set of challenges. Maintaining the ice runways requires regular upkeep, and the frozen surface can be uneven or unstable, making it more difficult for seaplanes to land safely. The freeze cycles that occur during Alaska's short spring and fall seasons can make the ice unpredictable, making it risky for pilots and their passengers. The presence of wildlife, particularly birds around Lakehood, is another hazard that seaplane pilots have to deal with. Birds are often drawn to the lake for food and shelter, but opening them to runways and takeoff areas increases danger for small aircraft. Seaplane pilots that fly lower and slower than commercial jets are likely to encounter such. Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport faces a lot of overwhelming problems. Wildlife encroachment, harsh and unpredictable weather, visibility issues, frost and ice buildup, runway congestion, technological limitations, and equipment failures all contribute to the complexity of operating an airport in such an extreme environment. Each of these issues poses a serious threat to the safety of airport operations, which makes Ted Stevens one of the most challenging airports in the world to manage. But the airport is important for global air cargo and passenger travel. So many things have been put in place to end or prevent frequent occurrence of damages in the airport. Let's see how innovative or creative the workers and teams have been, and how they have tried to make sure people and their properties are safe. Weather Warriors, Alaska Airport's survival secret. Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport is not just another stop for travelers or passengers connecting between distant cities. It is one of the most important aviation centers for the global supply chain, particularly for cargo operations. Because of its location, the importance of this airport cannot be overstated, especially for companies shipping goods around the world. From pharmaceutical supplies to electronics, the cargo passing through Ted Stevens Airport affects industries and people worldwide. A single delay at this hub can trigger a chain reaction, causing product shortages, missed deadlines, and millions in lost revenue. Therefore, keeping the airport running smoothly, despite Alaska's harsh conditions, is extremely important. Despite the airport's vital role in the global supply chain, it is located in one of the most wild and untamed parts of the United States. The surrounding environment being home to wildlife brought about an idea of managing this wildlife. Spencer Nelson, a biologist with the United States Department of Agriculture, and his team took over the mission of ensuring that the airport remains safe from wildlife incursions that can disrupt operations or even cause accidents. Nelson's team employs varieties of methods to keep wild animals far from the airport. Fencing is one of the most straightforward defenses, and the airport is surrounded by high fences to prevent larger animals like moose and bears from entering the airfield. But remember, no barrier is foolproof. Moose have been known to breach fences, and bears, driven by the smell of food or curiosity, occasionally find ways around the barriers. When these situations occur, Nelson's team uses non-lethal methods like noise cannons, pyrotechnics, and trained dogs to scare the animals back into the wild. Birds, particularly gulls and eagles, are a different kind of threat. Bird strikes can be devastating for aircraft, especially during takeoff and landing. To minimize the risk of bird strikes, the team uses techniques like habitat modification, removing water sources and tall grasses that attract birds. They have also employed falconry, where trained birds of prey are used to scare off smaller birds. In most cases, some birds are relocated or, as a last resort, euthanized to prevent them from causing a catastrophe. What makes the work of the team so impressive is their adaptability. They are constantly analyzing the behavior of wildlife, adjusting their methods, and incorporating new technologies to keep the airport as safe as possible. This continuous feedback loop ensures that the strategies they employ are always improving, keeping one of the world's busiest cargo airports running smoothly despite the ever-present threat of wildlife. While wildlife encroachment is an ongoing challenge, the harsh Alaskan winters present another obstacle. Snow, ice, and freezing temperatures can grind operations to a halt if not properly managed. Ted Stevens Airport deals with some of the most extreme winter conditions in the aviation world, but thanks to the maintenance team and specialized equipment, they manage to keep the runways clear and planes moving, even during severe weather. The airport's snow removal team is one of the most important and well-coordinated groups. Plows are the first line of defense against snowfall. These massive machines clear the runways, taxiways, and aprons in a continuous operation. During a heavy snowstorm, the plows work in shifts to ensure that the runways remain clear. But plowing alone isn't enough. After the snow is removed, sweepers follow behind, brushing away the remaining snow and ice to prevent dangerous conditions for planes. Even a thin layer of snow or ice can reduce traction and increase the risk of accidents, resulting in loss of lives and damages. De-icing trucks are also used during these operations. Ice can form quickly on the wings and fuselage of an aircraft, especially given the Stevens anchorage's freezing temperatures. De-icing trucks spray a heated glycol mixture onto the planes, melting the ice and ensuring that the aircraft can take off safely. The de-icing process is well-timed, as the treatment only lasts for a limited period before the plane must be airborne. Coordinating de-icing with the rest of the ground operations requires precision and excellent communication between ground crews and pilots. To help in predicting weather and help in decision-making, the airport uses sophisticated weather monitoring systems that provide real-time data on temperature, wind speed, precipitation, and runway conditions. These systems allow the ground crew to anticipate changes in the weather and adjust their operations accordingly. For example, if a snowstorm is predicted to hit in the next few hours, the plow and de-icing teams can be mobilized ahead of time to ensure minimal disruption to flights. Another group that plays a very important role in ensuring the safety and smooth operation of Ted Stevens Airport is the team of divers and firefighters stationed on site. Given the nature of Lakehood, which is adjacent to the airport and is one of the busiest seaplane bases in the world, the airport is always prepared for water-based emergencies. Divers are on hand to assist in the event of a plane crashing into the water or to recover lost equipment. The cold, icy waters of Lakehood make these operations particularly dangerous, but the divers are highly trained for these specific conditions. The airport's firefighters is also an important team in safety infrastructure. Firefighters at Ted Stevens Airport are not only responsible for putting out fires, but also for responding to a range of emergencies, from medical incidents to hazardous material spills. Given the extreme cold, fires can spread quickly if not properly contained, and the risk of frostbite for both firefighters and passengers during an emergency evacuation is a real concern. The firefighters undergo rigorous training to deal with these unique conditions, ensuring that they can respond effectively to any crisis. One of the most important aspects of managing these challenges is the airport's commitment to continuous improvement. After every major operation, whether it's a snowstorm, wildlife incursion, or emergency landing, feedback is collected from all parties involved. Maintenance team pilots, air traffic controllers, and emergency personnel come together to review what worked well and what could be improved. This feedback is then incorporated into future operations, creating a cycle of constant learning and refinement. The winter challenges, while natural, are also well managed, thanks to the airport's investment in cutting-edge equipment and the tireless efforts of its ground crews. The snowplows, sweepers, and de-icing trucks work in harmony to keep the runways clear, while the weather monitoring systems allow the airport to stay one step ahead of the storm. By constantly refining their operations and learning from each snowstorm or freeze, the airport has managed to maintain a high level of operational efficiency, even in the most brutal conditions. Aside from all the airport challenges, there are so many intriguing things about Alaska that we really don't know. Just so many fascinating details about it. Stay tuned as we share these unbelievable details about Alaska. You really should know about this state. Uncovering the mysterious livelihood of the Alaskans. Alaska is much more than just snow, ice, and isolation. For those who call Alaska home, the state's challenges are just another part of life. Many aspects of Alaska remain unknown or misunderstood by those outside of the region. One of the first things people think about when they imagine Alaska is its isolation. Alaska is separated from the contiguous United States by Canada, and its size is massive. To put it into perspective, if Alaska were a country, it would be the 17th largest in the world, bigger than France, Germany, and the UK combined. But in all this, it is one of the least populated places on Earth, with just over 700,000 residents spread out over an area of more than 663,000 square miles. Vast stretches of wilderness separate towns and cities, with many communities only accessible by plane, boat, or even snowmobile. Living in such isolation might seem impossible to some, but Alaskans have adapted. Small planes, known as bush planes, are an important lifeline, delivering food, mail, and medical supplies to remote villages. These planes are often the only connection many people have to the outside world. Yet this reliance on air travel has given rise to an organized network of pilots and residents. This kind of unity in the community is hard to find elsewhere. In more populated areas like Anchorage, Fairbanks, or Juneau, life is a bit more connected, but the sense of isolation is still there. Roads between major towns are few and far between, and many residents grow up accustomed to long drives through desolate landscapes. But for many, this isolation is part of Alaska's appeal and beauty. The vast open spaces offer freedom, tranquility, peace, and a connection to nature that is hard to match anywhere else in the world. Winter in Alaska is not just cold, it's extreme. In many parts of the state, temperatures regularly drop to -40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower during the darkest months of the year. Snow covers much of the state for the majority of the year, and daylight can be scarce, especially in northern areas like Barrow, where the sun doesn't rise at all for 65 days during the winter months. But Alaskans have learned to live with these extremes. Homes are built to withstand the cold, equipped with triple-pane windows, extra insulation, and powerful heating systems. Many homes also have backup generators, ensuring that power outages during storms or harsh weather don't leave residents stranded. Snow removal is a way of life, and most Alaskans are well versed in keeping their homes, driveways, and vehicles clear of the white stuff. Winter isn't just something Alaskans survive, it's something they have learned to embrace. Winter sports are incredibly popular in Alaska, with activities like snowmobiling, dog sledding, skiing, and ice fishing, which is a welcome diversion during the long months of cold. The Iditarod is a famous dog sled race that stretches over 1,000 miles from Anchorage to Nome and is one of the most well-known ways of how Alaskans celebrate their winter heritage. For them, surviving winter isn't just about making it through, it's about thriving in an environment that would intimidate many others. While Alaska's winters are long and dark, its summers are the complete opposite. In some parts of the state, the sun barely sets during the summer months, and in areas above the Arctic Circle, it doesn't set at all for weeks on end. This phenomenon is known as the midnight sun, and it creates a surreal experience for both residents and visitors. So, in case you think Alaska is just about winter alone, it has its own summer. The long days of summer are welcomed after months of darkness, and Alaskans take full advantage of the sunlight. Many spend their days hiking, fishing, camping, and simply enjoying the outdoors. Gardens, which lie dormant during the winter, spring to life during the summer. Some vegetables grow to big sizes thanks to the almost 24-hour sunlight. It's common to see cabbages weighing more than 60 pounds or zucchinis growing as long as your arm. However, the dramatic shift from long, dark winters to almost never-ending daylight in the summer can take a toll on people's mental and physical well-being. Seasonal affective disorder is a common issue during the winter months, as the lack of sunlight leads to feelings of depression, fatigue, and irritability. The midnight sun in the summer can disrupt sleep patterns, making it difficult for some people to adjust to the constant daylight. Despite these challenges, Alaskans have adapted. Many use light therapy in the winter to combat seasonal affective disorder, and blackout curtains are a must during the summer to help block out the sunlight and maintain a normal sleep schedule. Not to talk of living with the wild animals. Another aspect of life in Alaska that often surprises people is the high cost of living. Because of the state's remote location, many goods and services must be imported, which drives up prices. Groceries in particular can be shockingly expensive, especially in rural areas where supplies are flown in by bush planes. A gallon of milk can cost upwards of $8, and fresh produce is sometimes limited and costly. Fuel prices are also high, as most of the state's fuel is imported. This makes heating homes and fueling vehicles expensive, especially during the long winter months when homes need to be heated around the clock. Despite these costs, many Alaskans wouldn't trade their way of life for anything. For them, the benefits of living in such a beautiful, rugged state far outweigh the financial burdens. Alaska is not just a land of wilderness, it is a land rich in culture and history. The state is home to a diverse population, including many indigenous peoples who have lived in the region for thousands of years. Despite the weather conditions and everything happening, they love the place even more. Traditional hunting, fishing, and gathering practices are an essential part of life for many Native Alaskans who rely on the land for sustenance. These practices are not only a means of survival, but also a way of preserving cultural traditions and passing them down to future generations. The Native Alaskan community also plays a key role in the state's political and social fabric, advocating for the protection of their lands, rights, and heritage. While Alaska's isolation, harsh climate, and high cost of living might seem like a great challenge looking at it from the outside, the people who live in this extraordinary state have found ways not only to survive, but to thrive, and they love the place. Alaskans are deeply connected to the land, their communities, and their unique way of life defines them. Many of the difficulties that people associate with Alaska, which is its isolation, extreme weather, and wildlife encounters, are simply facts of life for those who call this state home. What might seem intimidating to an outsider is seen as just another part of daily life for Alaskans. For them, Alaska offers not only a lifestyle, but also connection to nature that is hard to find anywhere else on the planet. What are your thoughts on the livelihood of the Alaskans? Drop it in the comments section below. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.